5 FIBA world records, 19 minutes, 8 months off the court. And when the chaos came the very next night, teammates refusing to pass, a coach dodging every question about her, Caitlin Clark walked to the microphone and said the one thing nobody could have predicted. She didn't throw anyone under the bus. She talked about the team. That response tells you everything about who Clark actually is, and it exposes everything about what is happening around her right now. Because this tournament started with Clark proving, beyond any reasonable argument, that she is the engine of this team, and it continued with the people around her doing everything they could to pretend otherwise. The gap between what happened on that floor and what came out of that press conference afterward, that gap is the entire story. If this kind of investigation is what you come here for, hit that like button right now. It tells the algorithm this content matters, and it's the fastest way to keep this channel digging where other people won't. So let's go back to where this all started. Caitlin Clark had not played competitive basketball in 8 months. A groin injury, then a leg, then an ankle. Only 13 games into her second WNBA season before her body finally said enough. When she stepped back onto the floor for Team USA against Senegal, nobody could honestly say what version of her was going to show up. She came off the bench. In 19 minutes, she did something no player in FIBA history had ever done. 17 points, 12 assists, 0 turnovers, not just for the game, but specifically in the first half alone, when she dished 8 assists and nobody stripped the ball from her a single time. FIBA went back through their entire record books. The verdict: no player from any country in any qualifying game had ever produced that many assists in a single half. That was record 1. Record 2, most assists by any player in a Team USA senior national team debut. Record 3, most assists in any senior national team debut across every country in FIBA history. Record 4, second most assists in the entire history of FIBA qualifying tournaments. Record 5, most assists ever recorded by any player coming off the bench in FIBA history, 5 records, 1 game, 19 minutes. And Kara Lawson herself, after watching Clark's second quarter lineup of Clark Is, Ryan Howard, Kelsey Plum, Kiki Iriafen, and Monique Billings carve Senegal apart, said that unit took Team USA to a different level. The coach's own words about a lineup her best playmaker wasn't even starting in. FIBA put Clark's face on every piece of tournament marketing. Not a single other player on that roster got that treatment. The Puerto Rico coach's own daughter showed up to the very next game holding a Clark sign in the stands. Every signal pointed the same direction. Then the Puerto Rico game started. The offense that looked so precise, so connected against Senegal, ground to a halt. Lawson was rotating lineups, which is understandable when you're still evaluating roster combinations this early. But what could not be explained by roster experimentation was the ball distribution. Kayla Cooper was out there playing full hero ball, holding the ball, pulling up off the dribble, forcing her way into traffic. Clark standing wide open on the perimeter. Cooper still not finding her, not once, not twice. A pattern that repeated itself throughout the game and never corrected. Angel Reese was making reads that consistently left Clark on the outside looking in, literally standing wide open while Reese pushed pace in the wrong direction and gave the ball to someone off the ball. And every single time Clark actually did touch the ball against Puerto Rico, something productive happened. A kick out, a drive that drew a foul, a skip pass that moved the defense. Every stretch the offense ran without her dictating pace. Team USA looked like a completely different team, slower, disconnected, like everyone was running slightly different plays and hoping it worked out. The film does not lie about this. It is visible possession by possession. Clark touches it. The offense has a pulse. Clark stands on the perimeter, watching Cooper dribble into a double team. It flatlines. And after all of it, the hero ball, the freeze out, the stumbling offense against a Puerto Rico zone. Kara Lawson stepped to the microphone and refused to say Clark's name. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Lawson figures this out before the tournament ends? Or does Clark have to drag this team to a win despite the system around her? Seriously, your read on this matters. Here is the part that should genuinely concern people. Puerto Rico is not Spain. Puerto Rico is not Italy. The teams coming up on this schedule have real defensive rotations, disciplined schemes, and the athleticism to make a slow half-court offense pay all night long. Puerto Rico's zone was already enough to expose how dependent Team USA's rhythm is on Clark pushing pace. A more organized defensive team does exponentially more damage with that same approach. You cannot walk the ball up against Spain and expect Cooper to bail you out with forced mid-range pull-ups. That is not a formula that holds at this level, which is exactly why what Clark said at the podium afterward is the most important moment of this entire story. She called the offense clunky. She pointed to Puerto Rico's zone. She said the pace was off and the team would figure it out. That is it. No names called, no raised eyebrows, no carefully worded answers designed to let the internet do the dirty work for her. No frustration leaking through the professionalism. Just a clean, calm, completely team-first answer from a player who had every single reason in the world to say something completely different. Think about what that composure actually required. Cooper was out there protecting her role. Reese was making reads that conveniently kept Clark on the perimeter. Lawson was dodging direct questions about the most watched player in women's basketball. And Clark walked to that microphone and talked about rhythm, chemistry, and figuring it out together. That contrast is the entire story. Everyone else in that situation was doing something for themselves. Clark was the only one in that room talking about winning. If this level of analysis is why you keep coming back to this channel, consider joining as a member. Your support is what makes it possible to keep going deeper on the stories other channels are skipping entirely. Because that composure is not going to make the underlying problem disappear on its own. Lawson is still fact-finding. Stephanie White is still waiting in Indianapolis with her off-ball philosophy fully intact. And the stronger teams ahead on Team USA's schedule are not going to be forgiving of a half-court offense that ignores its most dangerous playmaker. Clark just spent 8 months getting healthy to come back and prove the layoff meant nothing. She did that in 19 minutes against Senegal. And then she spent the very next game watching teammates make decisions designed to keep the ball out of her hands. She absorbed every second of it and refused to make it about herself publicly. But here is what is coming. Clark goes back to Indianapolis for the 2026 FIBA season, carrying a complete picture of exactly what it looks like when a system tries to make her smaller. She watched it play out with Stephanie White all last season. She watched it happen again with Team USA in Puerto Rico. And she goes back with something to prove, something she honestly should not even have to prove at this point, given what the record books already say. The right basketball decision has never been complicated. It was visible in that second quarter Senegal lineup. Clark runs the offense. The team is better. The data says so. The film says so. And now the FIBA record books say so too. If Lawson recognizes that before this tournament ends, Team USA becomes genuinely dangerous. If she doesn't, Clark will keep giving composed post-game answers, and the stronger opponents ahead will keep exposing exactly why that's the wrong call. Subscribe and turn on notifications right now so you don't miss the next breakdown when this tournament heats up. The games coming are where everything gets decided, and we will be here for every single development. We'll see you in the next one.